Welcome to another episode of Fantasy News. I am your disheveled goblin host, Daniel Greene, and we have an awesome mix of fantasy news to jump in here today, including Wheel of Time, hardcore fantasy news, a good amount of video game news we're gonna get through pretty quickly, and of course, at the end, some more general fantasy news, including some things around a certain streaming service I'd like to cover. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it with a mega shout out to fellow fantasy nerd and YouTuber Quinn, aka Ideas of Ice and Fire, for his upcoming graphic novel release, Tadhya. It looks outstanding. Described as fantasy horror graphic novel, I'm 100% down. I already went ahead and backed the campaign, which I'll have linked in the description down below. We've talked about this before, how Quinn has this coming down the road, but now it's officially launching, and you can get 1, 2, or 3 editions, hardback or paperback, signed or not. Very cool. It's just like seeing someone achieve a dream I hope to achieve one day. Respect. I cannot wait to get my copy, and Quinn, when I do, prepare for the judgment of your lifetime! Because, I have to do my job and read and review it, but, I'll be honest, it's my job, but I'm sure it's gonna be great. There's like a stigma around YouTubers releasing books where people are like, oh, it's like a low effort. This looks high effort, and it looks quite impressive, so I'm 100% here for it. And the next piece of news, though, for my Wheel of Time fans out there, we are having a hardback metallic 30th anniversary release. Oh my lord, it's been 30 years. Edition for The Eye of the World to be released this October. It's kind of taking that original cover and just stripping away some of the more distracting elements and keeping Moraine and Lan at the forefront. It looks quite good. I'm going to order a copy and go ahead and review it for you. I'm going to have an affiliate link right down there if you'd like to go ahead and purchase it yourself. Full disclosure, I do get a kickback from that, so if you don't want to use that link, go right ahead and don't. If you hate me, I guess. But sliding from Wheel of Time into Song of Ice and Fire news, we had George R. R. Martin put on his Twitter that he has an extended, awesome, super cool narrated bit from A Feast for Crows. If you would like to see the extended fate of River Run, you can go ahead and check out that SoundCloud link, and you will get this little 12-minute recording from Roy to Troyes. Interesting combo there. And for all the people who were commenting on George R. R. Martin's post saying, oh, finish the book, you're annoying and obnoxious, leave the man alone. He's giving you free content, and you're just badgering him. Whatever. Moving on. Christopher Paolini had a very interesting announcement. He announced on Twitter, because almost all fantasy news is released on Twitter now, that the narrator for his upcoming release, To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, will be Jennifer Hale. That's right, Commander Shepard is coming on through and going to narrate To Sleep in a Sea of Stars from Christopher Paolini. Very cool. I wasn't aware she was doing audiobook narration. That's super dope. I want to pull her in for mine when I get my book. I have that kind of star power. Totally, I can do that. But speaking of interesting news from authors, we also had an announcement from Rebecca Kwong, author of The Poppy War, who for up-and-coming authors probably has some pretty inspirational news here to keep you going. She has been hired on to contribute to the 40 stories celebrating 40 years release coming down from Star Wars. That's right, this rising star in fantasy is going to be contributing to the largest, most successful SFF franchise currently in existence. Hot damn, that's cool to hear, and I love seeing it. It makes me have a little bit of respect for Star Wars for keeping their ear to the ground within fantasy and picking an author who definitely has credibility to do so. And it also, for other authors, I imagine, just gives you some hope that one day you could do a dream like this. So I'll be picking up this 40 stories celebrating 40 years book, I'm sure. I have to buy so many books. Oh well, they're tax write-offable, so that's good. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk in depth about a story here that I want to touch on, because we had a strange announcement from the Witcher showrunner who said that Season 2 will not be as confusing as some people found Season 1. And I have a couple things to say about this. To everyone who commented on my before you watched the Witcher TV show video like, no one needs this, we all get it. Yeah, if you've read the book, it makes sense. That video wasn't for you. That video is for people who hadn't read the books. So, get off my back. And 2, it's just strange to hear a showrunner come out and be like, I get it was confusing for you, it'll be less confusing this time around. But it does make sense within the Witcher timeline. Obviously, Season 1 covered a lot of the short stories, and so Season 2, it appears from where it is narratively, will instead pick up with a more straightforward storyline, which if you're aware of how the books go, that is pretty much how it is. So yes, I like that. It fits, and I'm looking forward to it. I have a deep-seated suspicion in my little belly right here, or on my face, I guess, that season 2 of Witcher will be better than season 1, because I think Netflix kind of took the criticism that a lot of people, myself included, had for season 1, that it felt a bit rushed and narratively could have been tightened up a bit. So I think they'll take more time here, as well as the COVID delays, I'm sure, have allowed them more VFX time, as a lot of shows have been talking about they've been having. So we're probably going to have like a wave of some of the best VFX we've seen in TV, because all these shows have had more time to polish certain shots. That's good, I guess. So I think season 1, I still maintain, I think I gave like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. I'm hoping season 2 could go into that 7.5, possibly even 8, if they really listen and do their homework and are a little more true to the source material. Maybe don't make it feel as cheap for certain shots. Looking at you, Dragon, that was awful. Anyway, that's just my thoughts there. Let me know what you think. This will be a hotly contested point of debate, I imagine, because certain people hated that show and others loved it. Some people were saying it's better than Game of Thrones. Green Daniel here for a quick cut-in. This is not exactly a sponsorship, but I have been sent a ton of interesting stuff from Beetle Grimm, a D&D expansion company that has rather outstanding stuff. This is really incredible. They have really badass maps with this guy right here. Tons of these tokens, giant tank things, copper plates. It's all outstanding looking. And if you're the kind of person who enjoys having some outside the box, unorthodox, interesting, well-made D&D add-ons, these guys definitely make some quality content. You can take it and run with their established campaigns and things along those lines, or you can just kind of do what I do, which is you use it for a ground base to then do your own stuff with. But yes, go ahead and check them out. I'll leave a link in the description if you're looking for some interesting D&D stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and get through some video game news here. And I'm gonna kind of just slice through these because there was just so much. EA dropped the trailer for their upcoming Star Wars game Squadron. So for those of you like myself who like dogfighting games and planes and some pew pow shoot bangs, this is gonna be right up your alley. And it's EA. You decide if you want to support them or not. I'm probably not. I just don't like them. I just don't like them, Sam, I am. But we also had a sneak peek drop for the upcoming Miles Morales Spider-Man game, which, boy, I wish I could play, but it's a PS5 exclusive, and so I can't. You're gonna notice the trend of that, because this was all news that came with the PS5 announcement, and I'm hurting on the inside. Resident Evil Village, which seems to be pretty typical for a Resident Evil game. It's pretty dark looking, it's got some spooky stuff, very reliant on jump scares, had a trailer drop as well. I'm sure the Resident Evil fans are excited, and, zombies. That's not overdone. Mutants, not overdone at all. It's all still fresh. Yeah. I don't know why I'm being so harsh. I have no problem with Resident Evil. There's also apparently going to be a remake of Demon's Souls. Neat. But one that actually grabbed my eye more than the rest I just talked about here was a hard sci-fi, it appears to be, release coming down the road. Pragmata. This was a kind of just cinematic. It wasn't actually a trailer with any gameplay. But it looked different. There's a vibe here of a much more traditional hard sci-fi narrative, which of course put its little hooks in me and makes me more curious. I still definitely need to see more, including actual gameplay, before I'll say like, this looks like a for sure buy, because I never recommend buying a game before you actually see gameplay or even wait for the first round of reviews, but that piqued my interest. We also got a Baldur's Gate 3 community update where they said they're going to have an early access version available for fans' hands August. Maybe. They very clearly wanted to be a maybe because they've had delays, though they have said even with COVID going on, they have people back in the studio working on the game, getting it ready for its release later this year. Fantastic. I'm not really into Baldur's Gate, but I know a lot of you are, so righteous. But topping all of this game news, we had a new Horizon game trailer drop. That's right, Horizon Zero Dawn is getting its sequel, Horizon Forbidden West. Oh, it looks so good. I haven't even been able to play the first game beyond like 10 minutes at a friend's house, but I've watched a lot of gameplay from it, and if there's any game that's going to sell me on getting a PS5, it's this. I'm not, because I don't game that much anymore, and it's not worth it, but there is a voice in my head that's like, look how pretty these crabs are. You want them. Buy the game. Look at this fish, the water. It's gorgeous. It's sci-fi primitive. It looks outstanding. I'm not buying a PS5. I will wait for it to be released on the PC. I will not buy a PS5. I really won't. I won't. It's not happening. We also had a little bit of news, and I'm sure is going to cause some discussion, but Sigourney Weaver has confirmed she will not be returning to the Alien franchise, and I am going to stay a strong opinion here. Good. Ridley Scott seems to be reducing the Alien franchise from its once iconic horror sci-fi status to more and more just horror schlock. I don't hate the new Alien movies as much as a lot of people do, but this franchise has just been taken through the ringer, put in different directors' hands, different writers' hands, and it seems that no one has a cohesive vision. And even now that it's back in Ridley Scott's hands, I haven't been loving where it's going. The first two movies were classics. One of the best horror movies and one of the best horror action movies. They are total top tier, but since then, it's just been this wave of destruction. Prometheus showed some potential, but there was a lot of issues there, and then from that, we've just had Covenant, which that was just a slasher movie disguised as Alien with some BS philosophy thrown on top. I did not like it, and it was disappointing. Sigourney Weaver's actual quote was, "I don't know," said Weaver. "Ridley has gone in a different direction. Maybe Ripley has done her bit. She deserves a rest." Which, to me, very much so just sounds like Sigourney Weaver being like, nah, that's not something I want to be involved in. And I would agree with her. You're a queen, and you should not be forced to be in this franchise anymore. I love you, Sigourney Weaver, and I like you even more hearing you kind of being like, nah, I'm good. And in a this kind of feels like a gimmick piece of news, HBO Max and DC Comics are teaming up to have a free line of comics available for readers to delve on into that apparently will be filled with Easter eggs for content available on HBO Max. This comic book series line will be titled To the Max, and I have a lot of feeling in me that this is not going to be something worth checking out, even though it's free. It just seems like a marketing promotional tool between DC and HBO Max, which have, of course, a massive catalog overlap now with HBO Max hosting so much of the DCEU and their animated movies and all that. So I'm including this just to go and kind of put a note of this is the future of fantasy marketing we're likely to be seeing a lot of for a good while. Now, in the final bit of fantasy news I wanted to cover here today, it's by no means hardcore fantasy news, but a lot of us get our fantasy shows through streaming services, and this is like a big piece of streaming service news. It appears that HBO is officially shelving HBO Go, which is now officially a no-go. HBO Now will be rebranded as just HBO, and HBO Max will remain as is. So they're trying to simplify because of the confusion around the rebranding. So just to get this absolutely clear to the viewers, HBO Go is a no-go and is now no longer going to be a place you can go to watch HBO content. HBO Now is going to be just HBO, so now you're going to refer to as HBO Now as just HBO, and HBO Max is going to remain HBO Max, the place where you can get the max amount of content. Does that make sense to you? I think it did. This has been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Put your favorite story of the day in the comments down below. I actually do read and care about those because it lets me know what I should cover more in the future. And have a good one, y'all. Peace.